In this episode, I'm back! Had a nice little break, got some new digs, got a lot to catch you up on, and I am excited. Of course, we're in a new space here. Been talking about that a little bit. Haven't shown you a lot of it yet. Not going to for a bit. Put my computer screen up here. Yes, we are currently in between videographers. So I'm bringing this video to you out of the goodness of my heart. I am going to be editing this thing together myself somehow, and I'm just gonna try to figure it out because I want this to be able to continue to happen. I took a month off, which I needed because we had the DC Pen Show, had the move, which was a big effort, and I've had some family illness on top of that. So it has been a rather busy time for yours truly here, but I really wanted to come back. I'm excited to be here, and I'm very eager to get things going again. So even though we're in between videographers right now, we're not gonna have a lot of regular video content. You may see we have a videographer posting on our site, so we're currently interviewing for that position, but I still wanted to keep Q&A going. So we're gonna make it happen somehow or another. The quality, the audio, may lack a little bit just because it's gonna be going like old school Goulet Pens here, back when I used to have to cut everything together. So it might get a little rough at times, but I appreciate you sticking with me. I actually had this camera that I normally use for Q&As in the shop, literally just got it back this morning. It's like, sweet, I can fire it up because if I don't use this camera, I have to use a DSLR, which we normally use for photography, and you can only record 30 minutes at a time before the camera shuts off. So when I do it that way, I have to cut the multiple clips together. It gets to be a bit of a mess. And as you can imagine, it's better to have just a camcorder that will record, indefinitely and fill up the whole card before it shuts off. But this thing was been in the shop. So finally just got it back, and I went to fire it up, and like all the settings are back to default settings. And so it's just throwing me off my game. So and then like our new space is a lot bigger now, so I had to walk back and forth. Literally, like just now, I had to walk back and forth like 7 times to get all these various things. I forgot my microphone, and then I forgot my gray card, and then I forgot, you name it, batteries, and then I forgot a memory, everything. So here I am recording. I see the recording light on there, so I think I'm good. But it's gonna get a little wacky. So it's gonna be kind of a different Q&A today just because I'm a little punchy. And it's a new space, my new office here. So I brought the blue wall back. I'm super pumped about that. I used to have a blue wall about a year ago or so. I don't remember exactly when. In one version of the office that I had in our old space, the new office that I have here now, which I'll show you in a little bit, is more of my home, and I got the blue back. You see I got my Jake Weidman piece right here, which I had asked you all, hey, what should I do? I asked on Instagram, got some good feedback, and I just kind of leaned up against the wall. I needed to put something there because my office is a bit of a mess at the moment. But anyway, got a lot to catch you up on, so let's get to it, shall we? So first things first, the move, obviously a big deal. It's not every day that we move our office. It's been about 6 years since we moved it, really moved it. Last time, that's when we moved it out of our house. So this was a huge effort. We went from 12,000 square feet, which is a big space, to just under 24,000 square feet in our new space, which is a huge space to us. And so it was a big effort. Literally been working the last 18 months, really intensely the last 6 months or so, on the construction, managing this whole construction project. Literally, we had to paint everything, carpet everywhere, lights, all the lights in the place, all LED lights, just everything. Replaced all the doors so we could have doors with glass, you name it, all kinds of stuff. All kinds of construction. It was a big effort, big initiative, and it was really intense. And it was kind of cool because I've never managed a project of that size. Of course, we have our team here at Goulet Pens, which is amazing. Lots of great people here, and we kind of do our daily thing. But this was a lot of new stuff that I'd never done before with our contractor. We had a designer, we had a moving coordinator, and then we had a moving company that the coordinator worked with. So, and then all these IT subcontractors and just all these different people. It was literally just, we would have meetings on site weekly here as the construction was going on, and it would be like a dozen or 15 people that were here all getting information and sharing and all that kind of stuff. And it was really cool to see us being kind of the hub for this project, and like us really being able to kind of lead that and share our values and talk about that. And there was lots of trust building and honesty and forthrightness that was coming through even in the construction phase, which normally is like a kind of contentious opportunity, but we hired really great folks we just got really lucky, really fortunate, and ended up having a really smooth, all things considered, still a construction project, but a really smooth project altogether. And then once the space was ready, it was kind of dramatic because, you know, there was all this construction going on, and we needed to get like our final inspection before we could kind of move in. And our final inspection came 6 days before our scheduled move. So it was a little tense there for a bit. I tried not to worry myself like too much. I was like, all right, it's going to come through. We're going to be okay. We've done everything right. And it was fine. But still, just like being less than a week before you know you have to move, because we had to be out of our old place literally by the end of August. So we knew we had to be out of there, and it was just like, okay, we got to go. And so that was kind of down to the wire. And then, of course, literally the week before we moved was the weekend of the DC Pen Show, which ideally we would have rather moved the weekend of the DC Pen Show, that first weekend in August. But because that show was happening, and because I had kind of heard through the grapevine through the folks at Kenro that Jake Weidman was going to be at the DC Pen Show, the guy who did this artwork, who I'm a big fan of his for the last several years, heard that he was going to be at the show and I might have the opportunity to interview him. We literally kind of rearranged. Of course, we like the DC show anyway. It's just very meaningful to us, but I knew I wanted to be at this DC show. So we kind of arranged the move that following week, which ended up working out because then it would have been even more down to the wire. With our final inspection. But everything is good. You know, it's literally like 2 weeks before we were about to move in. One of the HVAC units like had a problem and dumped tons of water all into our space, and we had to get that all cleaned up. Just, you know, all these little things that were just kind of happening throughout that you all just know. If you've ever moved personally or your business or anything, you know, it's just a huge project. So we're still kind of coming down from that. I really appreciate you all being super flexible, super understanding about just us, you know, me especially, not putting out a lot of video stuff, getting a break on Q&A. It was really, really needed, not just because like, oh, I'm so sick of Q&A. It was like, no, I needed to be taking care of business around here so that our team could be set, so that construction could be good. Even as we've moved in, there's literally today still I'm dealing with stuff with our HVAC and all this kind of stuff. It's a big deal. So I appreciate that latitude, and we are going to work on getting back up to speed here pretty soon, and Q&A is kind of kicking it off here, so we're excited about that. So we had the DC Pen Show. That was almost a month ago now, and that was really fantastic, I gotta say. I always enjoy the DC Pen Show. It's a very busy time. We didn't even get a booth or a table or anything like that. We literally just go just to hang out with people because there's lots of bloggers there. There's tons of just pen fans, customers of ours that go to the show. It's always great to see people in person because we all are just such a passionate bunch. You know, it's like we all love pens. We all just totally geek out at these pen shows. It's a lot of fun. It's incredibly exhausting because most pen people are introverts, including many of us here on our team. I'm a little more extroverted, but most everybody else is introverted. And so it's really funny when everybody gets together and they all just totally geek out, and then everybody's just like completely spent. They're like done and just exhausted. Need a little social lubrication sometimes at the bar afterwards, you know, just because people get so tired and, you know, everybody travels so far to be there and stuff. But it was really, really, really cool. So what happened there is like we went to the show. We went up on like late Friday afternoon. You know, shortly after we get there, Jake shows up, and you know, I'm literally like totally just fanboying out over Jake. It was kind of ridiculous, but I've followed him for a while. I incredibly respect his work, and so I totally geeked out, and we just like embraced like we were like friends from years back, you know, and just so cool. First time I met him, and it was just awesome. And then Kenro, the folks, so Kenro is our distributor for Monograppa, you know, Aurora. And they had kind of orchestrated this whole thing. And they were like, hey, you know, originally they gave me a heads up. They were like, you know, why don't you interview Jake on, you know, Sunday morning, all this kind of stuff. And I was like, okay, so I'll have time. And they're like, maybe we could do a dinner on Friday night. You could get to know him a little bit. And I was like, oh, that'd be awesome. Okay, so I can get to warm up and get to know him, stuff like that. But they had to call an audible once we got there. So I kind of show up, get to meet Jake for like 30 seconds, and they're like, hey, you know, we're gonna go out to dinner tonight, but blah, 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 blah. Do you think you could interview Jake in like 45 minutes before we go out to dinner? And I was like, okay. And I haven't shot my own video stuff in a while, so it was like, okay, well, let's do that then. So thankfully, Rachel and I had booked a hotel, and I asked for a hotel room. I was like, can I get a hotel room with a north-facing window? And they were like, okay, because that's the best natural light, because I figured we were going to be shooting this thing. So it was like, it wasn't dark yet, thank goodness. I don't know what I would have done otherwise, but we had some nice natural light from the window. If you've seen the Jake Weidman video, it's pretty cool. You should check it out. But get this thing all set up, and it was just magical. I mean, Jake is so natural. We just connected, chemistry there. So it was really great, and the interview went awesome. I thought I was going to have all this time to prepare for it. Totally didn't. I'm like immersed in the details of the move and all this kind of stuff. And then I go into DC and it's like this alternate reality, and I'm like, oh, I'm interviewing Jake. Okay. And I'm literally like trying to set up the cameras and all this kind of stuff. And I'm talking to him and trying to get him comfortable, because he hasn't done, like, he's done some interviews and stuff like that, but not like, he doesn't sit in front of a camera every week and talk for an hour like I do. So just trying to talk to him, get comfortable, all that kind of stuff. So it ended up just turning out fantastic. And then I edited the whole thing together. It was great. So enjoyed that. Props, Jake, if you're watching this, which I doubt. You don't have time, but you got a baby. So anyway, so it was really cool. So huge fan of Jake's. Love his work. Go check it out. Anyway, DC was great. Met lots of amazing people. Literally just like, there was one point on Saturday morning where I was standing in the middle of the ballroom for like 3 straight hours, did not move, just talking to people coming up, having great conversation. It was so cool. I had Fig Boot on pens there, David Parker, I had, Stephen Brown, Brad Dowdy, just all these great like people that I run into, like I'm running in circles with online, Anna Reiner, just all these great people who, forgive me if I'm leaving anybody out, but just I saw Kara Benz, and just like completely awesome in-person experience. And then it was like DC was done, and it was whoosh, back to reality, and it was like the week of the move, and it was just boom, logistics, bah, boom, bah, bah, get out orders, close this, and we literally had like this tight schedule. We planned out the entire move, and it ended up just going off without a hitch. I mean, it was so great. My whole team was so just motivated. Everybody, the morale was through the roof. Everybody was ready to work. As soon as we like shut down our website, we did a physical inventory. It was the fastest and most accurate one we've ever done. Everybody, as soon as we were done with physical inventory, everybody started packing up products, because we had to physically pack up the products and then move the shelves and then put the product back on the shelves. So it was like, it was a coordinated effort. That's why we had a moving company helping us, and they had like 3 or 4 moving trucks and this whole crew of guys, and they were all moving stuff over. It was amazing and just electric to kind of be a part of that, and just me with all the planning and stuff like that, and just boom, executing. Rachel was here at the new space, kind of coordinating where everything went. I was at the old space saying, oh yeah, this old thing, I don't remember this job, it goes, this stays, this and it was just so cool to see it really all come together there. And it was pretty wild. So it was a bit of a whirlwind. I know from your perspective, it probably wasn't as much of a big deal. I mean, you may probably assume it was a big deal, but we only announced 3 weeks ahead of the move that we were even moving, because I wanted it to be something that was like not completely disruptive in everything to your world. I wanted it to be something that we had mainly planned, and then when it came time to execute, that's when you were aware of it, and then we just kind of made it happen. So that ended up working out really fantastic. I thought for sure I would have spilled it at some point before that, but no, it really was great. And like 3 weeks before the move, and then we made it public, and then it was great. Executed, everybody was super understanding while we were moving that it was going on, and now we're back, and we got new products coming again, and it's great. We're like business as usual. I mean, literally it was like, we'd planned for 2.5 days for the move with like a spillover day just in case. The weather was great. Everything worked out perfectly. We finished in a day and a half, and then had basically that Friday, which we thought we would still be moving stuff, to really get set up, get settled in. And we started shipping out orders on that Monday, and it was like business as usual. And it was amazing to see. I mean, I could not have planned it to be any better. It took a lot of work from our whole team to make that happen. So that was really cool. The new space is just mind-blowing. I know I haven't shown it yet. We haven't talked about it a lot yet. We're still waiting on some like pretty major design elements, some really nice looking stuff before we show a lot of it. So that's still coming in place. Had some delays on some of that stuff, so I'm not sharing a lot yet, but I will show you my office here today in just a little bit. We talked about maybe doing like episode 200, doing a full tour, which would be like middle to end of January. May not wait that long, we'll see. That's kind of what I'm setting as like the expectation, like, all right, we'll have our act together, have a new videographer and everything, and probably do something a little cooler for episode 200, and maybe show bits and pieces before then, but we'll see. So that kind of catches you up to speed with all that stuff. Kind of talk about like now and in the future a little bit. So a lot of prep and lead up in this Q&A here today. First one is Rachel and I took the last week off. We basically just kind of pretty much hit a wall, especially Rachel. She just has bore the brunt of a lot of the details of everything. And, as we've shared kind of openly before, she has, periods of anxiety that just really kind of come on. And typically it's like leads up to big events where it kind of hits her, but this one kind of hit her after the fact. So she's still really kind of reeling with that. So not only with the move, but then our kids, if you read our personal message in the newsletter, our kids are now both in elementary school. We are not doing after school care anymore. Rachel is getting off work at 2 o'clock and going and picking them up and taking care of stuff. So it's a really magical, wonderful like time for our family. But at the same time, it shifts things because Rachel and I are no longer commuting together anymore. So it's just like there's some just precious kind of emotional things that are changing in our life, which our team has been super gracious and understanding about. They're being very flexible. And basically last week, Rachel kind of hit a wall and was like, I need to take time off and you really should too. And so we took that time off and just took care of ourselves. And that was pretty needed. So if you ever go through a major move like that or a major effort at work, plan for a vacation shortly after that because it's probably going to need it anyway, even if you don't plan for it. So yeah, stress and pressure just kind of built up and hit us there. Even though everything went so smoothly, it was still just so much. And then to just kind of open up and be a little bit kind of vulnerable with you all right now. I've shared a little bit on my Instagram if you follow me there. I've been actually pretty positive throughout this whole experience. I haven't been wearing the stress really hard and been like, tired, angry, freaked out, anything like that. But my stress has manifested in stress eating, which, over time has added up. I've actually put on 23 pounds since April. We went on a vacation in April, and after that, I just kind of stopped really paying attention to what I was doing and just kind of ate out of either habit or stress relief or just self-indulgence, whatever. So I am 235 pounds right now. And that is the weight that I was when we got married, which is usually your marriage weight is like you're low and you like want to get back to it. For me, it was the most I ever weighed at the time when I got married. So that number, just 235, really sticks out in my mind. And then my peak that I ever was 260 pounds, which if you watch like way back in the day, before I even started doing Q&As, I was, around 260 pounds. And that's when I decided enough was enough. I did a huge effort. I wanted to lose 30 pounds by the time I was 30 years old. I ended up losing 65 pounds in about 6 months. So it was a very aggressive weight loss thing. I rode my bike like crazy, ate a very strict diet. And then it's slowly been creeping up ever since then, and really it went off the rails in the last couple of months. So here I am now, hitting kind of another milestone in a way that I don't really like. And I've just got, I'm a little heavier. Like I see it in my face. You guys can see it in the videos. That's why I'm not even trying to like hide it, and it's just like my gut, it's like hanging over my belt. And, I'm muscular and I'm still very physical. It's not so much that I'm like tired and can't do what I want to do, but it's more just like, my entire wardrobe is tight now and I'm coming into the fall and I'm like, do I really want to buy a whole new wardrobe and, kind of lean into this and think about that? Or do I want to get back on that wagon, get back on that horse and do what I know that I need to do? So that's where I'm at right now. I haven't set like a specific goal or target or anything like that. I'm thinking about what that's going to be right now, but I'm just kind of, letting you all know that sometimes you hit walls. Sometimes you have to make compromises and you sacrifice yourself for your kids or your work or whatever. And that's okay. We all do that sometimes. And it's also okay to feel like you failed a little bit. So suck that up. It doesn't make you a bad person. It doesn't make you a failure. It means that you have a choice to do something different now if you want. And that's where I'm at. I have a choice to do something different, and that's what I'm going to do. So I'm tweaking my diet a little bit. I'm being more intentional about my exercise, trying to focus on what I do in my downtime, and really just kind of refocus my life a little bit. So I think I'm ready to do that now. So I wanted to share that with you all because I know when I did it previously about 4 years ago, that was a really kind of cool experience for me, and it was also inspiring for a lot of you who are kind of watching me go through that. And I want you to watch me go through it again. I'm going to do it, and hopefully I can inspire you all too. So that would be cool. I think like a goal of like 205 or 210. So if I can lose, maybe about 25, 30 pounds, that's really where I'd like to be. And that is no small commitment, so it's going to take me a lot. And just my personality style, if I put it out there and make it a little more public, I will be a little more accountable for that. So that's kind of what I'm doing, broadcasting it out to tens of thousands of people. Oh, gotta love it. Okay. Let's see here. So I mentioned we got some new hires. We got a new videographer. We've been down one of our community coordinators. We're working on that. And so, and then we have some other positions that we're going to be looking to fill later this year as well. So we're still hiring, still growing, very intentionally here, but we're being stretched a little bit right now. Another thing with the move for us too that's been added to me and Rachel's stress a little bit is we did it with no debt. And so, making sure, providing an amazing space, in the summer, which is usually our lull financially, sales are a little slower in the summer usually. And so doing all that, saving up all that cash, we've been saving for a while to make that happen. We did it successfully. Now we're coming into our holiday season where we need to be stocking up on a lot of inventory. We got to be really smart and really intentional about what we do. And to do all that without debt takes a lot of work. And that is where we're at. So anyway, so let's see here. I talked about the camera, yada yada. I'm just looking at my notes. Yep. So I'll be editing my own Q&As together for a while. Forgive me if there's any snafus or technical, blips or anything like that. And yeah. And then just our kids starting school. It's been great. It's like anybody. We have 2 kids, and those of you who know, we had a miscarriage last year, which resulted in some complications for Rachel, which ended up in hysterectomy. We can have no more kids through natural means anyway. And so for us, these 2 are it for us. So it's like, it really adds some finality to it. It's like our little baby girl now is in kindergarten, and it's like the preschool days are over. Like, we said goodbye to everybody at the preschool. I wrote them a really nice letter, and that was very just nice for them. Of course, it was nice for me to just have some kind of what's the word? I can't remember. Conclusion? No. Oh my gosh. Closure. There we go. Closure towards that period of our lives. But it's weird. It's like, we're not going to go back there anymore. We're just in a new phase of life, and it's like, boom, it just happened. Right after the move, boom, all this stuff. So it's like a lot of change happening. And Rachel and I are usually pretty good with change, but it's been intense. So feeling a lot of feels right now. Trying to comfort our kids and all that kind of stuff, but they're loving school. It's so great. They're kindergarten and 2nd grade. It's like, what's not to love about being that age? They're just so much fun. We're just really trying to soak it all in because it goes by so fast. Okay, so that catches you up on the personal front and the business front. I know I've spent a lot of time talking about that in this one. And I also have a lot of products to talk about. So I'm not going to go in deep detail about any of the products, but I do kind of want to catch you up to speed about everything that's been going on over the last month or so. Had the Visconti Medici come in, which is an awesome kind of a higher end Visconti. It is a regular edition pen. It's not a limited or anything like that, but it's really cool. It's a material called Acro Silk. It looks incredible. Looks like a celluloid and kind of has some of that vibe, but the silk is, natural material, and it's in a resin, so it's very durable. So it's very cool. It looks beautiful. I love the style of the pen. Very cool. Save up your pennies because it's a lot. On the complete opposite end of the spectrum, we had the TWSBI Eco in turquoise, which came and went, and then it came and went, and now it's gone for good. So we got like 2 shipments of it. It went so fast. That's how some of these TWSBI things go. If it's any type of a limited thing, literally just this week we found out that they're going to do a TWSBI Classic in white and turquoise, and it's going to be the same kind of thing. It's going to be a special edition. It's going to be come and go. It's going to be very limited kind of thing, limited in quantity anyway, not in like numbered limited edition, but it's going to be not in abundance of quantity. So that's going to be the same kind of thing. It's going to be like boop boop gone. We've had Noodler's House Divided, so that came out around a month ago at the DC show. It's an interesting ink, kind of a burgundy-ish kind of ink. Decent amount of spread and bleeding on that one, so not great for your cheaper papers, but it's kind of cool. And whenever Noodler's comes out with anything political, you always think, oh boy, here it goes. But actually, I was kind of surprised. it was actually a very kind of unifying message. It talks about how, there is division of the houses, but we all need to kind of come together and have like some bipartisan type stuff to help out what we're doing right now. So surprisingly positive message and bipartisan message from Nathan, which was really kind of cool. So read the material that there is on House Divided. I think you'll be pleasantly surprised. And the ink is pretty cool. Like when you wash it away, it changes color and it washes I believe it washes the blue away and the red stays. I need to read up on it again. It's been a while since I've looked at it, but pretty interesting ink. As always, it's always cool to see what Noodlers has going on. We got the Aurora 88 Minerali, which is a gorgeous demonstrator Aurora pen. So we got the one in blue. There's going to be some other colors that are going to come out down the road. Again, a very expensive pen, but whenever you have these really high-end demonstrators, they're cast resins. They are turned and polished as opposed to injection molded, and they have polish out the outsides and the insides. And this, this Minerali, it's got even the housing on the grip is clear, so you can really see everything that's going on. It's gonna be a pain in the butt to clean, I can tell you that right now, but it looks super darn cool. So check that out. The Coeco Perkeo, I definitely want to do something on that. Maybe I'll talk about it in a future Q&A. I have a couple of them here that I can show you. I didn't grab all the colors. But I guess I can show you a little bit. So the Perkeo is a little bit larger of a Coeco pen. The Classic is much shorter, and it's got a larger nib too. It's got a number 5 size nib, which in the pictures it can be kind of deceiving because it's shoved down further in the pen, but when you pull it out, the nib is actually a little bit larger. And I really like the way that these pens write. They're fine and medium only, but they're only 16 bucks. They're cheaper. And it fits a full-size converter inside. Standard international converter. You don't have to get any special Coeco converter or anything like that. So it's a huge plus there. We have the converter as an add-on option. Unfortunately, you can't eyedropper convert it without doing a hack because it has holes in the back here. I mean, you could technically, if you wanted to, you could fill the back with epoxy and you could, do that. But that's really a hack. I mean, it's a $16 pen, so you may want to do that anyway. But really solid feeling pen. I'm very pleased. Snap cap, push to post. Really good performer. So this is going to be a great student pen, great toss around pen just to have with you. 4 different colors that are all kind of interesting like this. So definitely kind of a cool pen to check out. That's the Perkeo. The nibs will not be swappable with regular Classics though, because it's a different size. We've also had GPC note cards. So we have, our note cards that we normally have that you get out with all your orders. We've now packaged some up and we sell them. So we're getting all kinds of custom requests, having them with envelopes, having them be postcard size, having Maybe we'll look into that, but we just moved. We're doing a lot of stuff, but literally it was just like, we had the note cards. People ask us about them all the time. Could we just, buy extra, buy more, and then package them up and sell them to you all? That would be great. So a lot of logistics there, surprisingly, in order to get those done, but we have those available now, so you can check those out. Rhodia Goal Books is another kind of cool thing that's come out if you're into bullet journaling at all, but maybe you're not a huge fan of the Leuchtturm paper or you like a little bit softer cover. Rhodia has what's called the Goal Book. So they've been getting asked for years about doing bullet journal. There's literally been people that have been putting dots in their lined Rhodia or use blank Rhodia web notebooks, and they'll number every page and put dots in and stuff like that. And it's like amazing what lengths people go to do this. So they kind of leaned into that trend, the whole bullet journaling thing. So it's got a table of contents in the front that you can reference. It's got multiple bookmarks, so you can keep one in the table of contents, whatever. It's got a month view here that you can glance at, and then kind of a blank month thing going on here, and then just numbered pages so you can reference them easily. It's got it's the 90-gram Rhodia paper, so really high quality paper, same thing that's in the web notebook or the Rhodia Premium. Its paper is made by Clairefontaine, so it's basically ivory Clairefontaine paper. Fantastic stuff. Back pocket, elastic strap, and it's got we got 7 different colors of these, so you can check those out. Very cool, comparable in price to the Leuchtturm ones, so cool alternative to that kind of catches on the bullet journaling trend. We have the Faber-Castell Loom in gunmetal. There's a matte and a polished version. Surprisingly light. I haven't 100% confirmed this, but I think it's because the material is made of aluminum instead of brass. That would make sense to me as to why it's 10 grams lighter in the body. But very cool looking pen, very sharp. you know, the Nibs steel, which is not terrible, but it's like, you know, it doesn't quite match everything else. That would make it like the perfect thing for me. But hey, it's still a solid pen. Costs a little bit more than the regular lume, more in like the $55 to $60 range, but it's still, maybe it's not quite that much, $50. Does that sound right? Check the site. I got too much in my brain to remember those prices at the moment, but very cool. It takes standard international converter. So it is limited right now in quantity, so not limited edition, but it's a special kind of color that they're doing. We got like one small batch. Apparently demand spiked a lot, especially in Europe, so we got a very limited amount. It's gonna be several weeks before we get more, but we're gonna try to carry more as we can. It's a great pen, so I highly recommend it if you're a fan of that format. Pelikan M200 Smoky Quartz has come in, so that's a brownish, not far from this color pen, that is a translucent demonstrator that matches the Smoky Quartz ink that they came out with. So we're doing a deal right now where we have a free bottle of ink with the pen when you get it. That's been cool. Nice little bonus for you guys to get both of those. So that's cool. So you can check that out for a while. We were going to do it for like a week and then we extended it, so we might do it for a little bit. Got new loops, which is cool. So the Goulet loop is now kaput. Let me see if I can find my loop. Okay. So the Goulet loop, which was this white loop, it was a relatively inexpensive loop. We put our own branding on it because it basically had no branding. So we're like, we'll call it the Goulet loop. It can be kind of like the every person's loop. You know, you can get like a nice Beloma or like nice jeweler's loop for like 35, 40 bucks. We wanted something much cheaper, so we went with, you know, much less than that. But we found, actually, I'd found this brand years ago. It was actually one that Brian Gray from Edison had turned me on to. He had told me about a 15X version, which I have right here, which has this this little shroud on it. That's how you can tell the difference. The 15X is a bit of a high magnification. This one we had advertised as a 15X. I'll be completely honest with you. I don't think that was the case. I was always conflicted about that, and we got a lot of negative feedback about that. Legitimately, quite honestly, from the manufacturer that we were buying these from. They advertised it as a 15X loop. I did not have any type of scientific way to prove otherwise, so that's how we advertised it. But this 15X is not the same as even this 10X that we're selling now. So the 10X that we have here is actually slightly higher magnification than the 15X we used to have. I don't know how it works. I apologize for anybody that ever felt duped for having this one. I still think this was a decent loop, especially for the price, but I do feel that this loop is a better loop. We just weren't able to track it down for some time, and my executive assistant Jen actually ended up tracking these things down and found them. So now we have a good supplier. They're made in Taiwan out of a company that's based in Japan, so I feel better about the supply, the relationship there. The quality is very good. They're very sturdy. You know, it's an LED. It's a strong LED. I feel good about the mechanisms. I've been using one myself for years. That's in the stronger magnification, and we debated too about which magnification that we should carry. We went with the 10 just because honestly 15 is pretty intense, which if you're looking to do like grinds and looking to really tweak your nibs, 15 helps, but it's a much tighter depth of field, so it's harder to adjust and it takes more practice. This one is very, very good, and it's a little bit easier to kind of see what you're doing. So we thought for kind of the loop for everybody, the 10X would be the way to go. So I'm very excited to see how these are received. So for all of your nib tuning purposes, this is now in our nib tuning package set, and that'll be the loop that we have going forward. The white one is gone for good. What else we got? Rhodia Heritage. So that's a kind of a cool collection, kind of like a retro looking Rhodia notebook collection. A lot of different formats going on, but very kind of vintagey throwback. Very cool. You can check those out. We had those on the banner on our website this week. So very cool. Lots of different things going on there. You should check it out. Again, it's that off-white paper, that premium paper that they have. It's really good. We had the Jerbon 1798 Amethyst de l'Ural, which is the kind of like a 1670 type ink, except the 1670 ink has got a gold sheen and the 1798 has a silver sheen. So it's a purple ink, which is a really close purple to like the Lamy Dark Lilac, but it's got a silver sheen to it, or a silver shimmer, I should say. So it's pretty cool. It's really cool. We were pretty limited on the quantity at the onset. I'm told that it's only going to be another couple of weeks before we get more in. So it's not going to be a huge, gap, I don't think. But we're going to try to get more in as soon as we possibly can. What else we got? Okay, still not done. I haven't even gotten to the questions yet. Conklin All-American Brownstone. It's pretty cool. It's a big pen. It's not for everybody, but the brownstone, I really like the look of it. I like the darker trim. I like the brown is nice. It's got a little bit of a hint of gold to it. It's a really nice looking brown. So I think if you like that format of pen, I do think that color is pretty cool. Leuchtturm planners, so the metallic planners, if you remember the metallic notebooks that were out earlier this summer, the anniversary series, they now have those in the planners as well, so that's pretty cool. So you can get planners for 2018. You can start your planning now. I don't know how you do that because I can't think that far ahead, but more power to you if you can. But anyway, you can go ahead and pick those up. We just got those in this week. We got a couple of new Robert Oster inks, which is black violet and then green at night. Some pretty cool ones. And then we're also looking at doing Sublime and Lake of Fire as well. I think we're pretty much just going to look into most of the Robert Oster inks, the new ones that come out these days, because there's a lot of excitement around them and they just keep coming out with really, really great colors. Robert's on his game. And then a couple of things that are coming soon that I just want to give you a heads up about. The Pilot Vanishing Point Crimson Sunrise. This is the 2017 limited edition. It is going to cost a little bit more. It's going to be like a $240 list price. So it'll become just under $200 street price. Medium nib only. It's going to be a beautiful pen. I haven't seen it in person yet, but it's the same technique they used for the Twilight that they had a couple of years ago. So it's going to look great. It's a red to orange kind of color. So if that's your thing, go for it. We have quite a significant email notification list. I do believe they're going to go fast. It is a one-shot deal for us. I'm not going to disclose how many we're getting, but it's not enough. I can say that much. So be ready for that one when it comes. It will be coming very soon. I think initially this week we thought it was going to be coming for Friday, for when this video launches, but I think it's going to end up getting delayed a little bit. We're going to try to give somewhat of a heads up as to when that's coming, but it's going to be coming very soon, so be ready. And then if you don't get it from us, get it from wherever you can, because I don't think it's going to stick around long anywhere. Other things that are coming, Lamy Ion. So this is cool. So it's a more affordable Lamy pen, kind of like when the Lux came out, but this is a more different variant of a pen than the Lux is kind of like, okay, it's a little fancier All-Star. The Ion is really a different format of pen. Okay, it's not night and day from all the pens, but still a black and a gray pen. But it's a different size, different weight, a different feel to it. So I don't have any with me to show you, but I did get to see samples of it a few weeks ago, and I like it a lot. It's a little bit more, it's a little bit more than a Lux. So it's not in like the premium range. It's more in like a studio type of thing. So it may not be like an intro level pen necessarily. It kind of fits more in like a next level type pen. But solid pen. The nib itself is designed a little bit different than the regular steel Lamy nibs, but that's really just a design element. Jasper Morrison, who is the UK designer that helped design this pen, wanted a different shape to that nib, so they did that. But the nib is still the same format. It still swaps with the regular steel nibs too. So if you wanted to give it in size, put a black nib on it, whatever, you can still do that with these pens. So that's pretty cool. So look out for those. We're going to have those relatively soon. I know there was some kind of mystique around kind of what was going to happen with Lamy and all this kind of stuff. Lamy has changed distributorships in the United States, so that may cause some blips and some disruptions here and there, some wackiness with some of the pricing and stuff like that you may see on some Lamy stuff in the US. And so we are in the process of kind of sorting all that out, building a new relationship with a new distributor, which is always an interesting kind of behind the scenes thing that goes on. But we're very optimistic about our relationship with Lamy for the future. In addition to that, Lamy is coming out with 2 new colors of studio. So there's going to be a piano black, which is like a shiny black finish with a 14 karat gold nib, which is kind of cool because they don't have a lot of pens with that 14 karat gold nib, which I believe is going to be a regular addition to their series. And then there's going to be, I think, my information is not 100% solid on this, I think The other Studio is going to be a special edition. It's called Racing Green. It's like a matte dark green, which looks pretty darn cool. So be on the lookout for that one. You know, most of their special editions, they're around for about a year or so. So it's not like, you know, it's not like the Crimson Sunrise or something where it's like you got to be on it that day. You'll have some time, but I do think that one's gonna be cool. Steel nib, so that one will be, you know, under $100 right there. Had a little bit of confusing information about the Pilot Custom Urushi. I have a Pilot Custom 845 Urushi personally, which is a smaller, less expensive pen than the Pilot Custom Urushi, which is new. So the Pilot Custom Urushi looks very similar to this pen, but it's larger, has a larger nib. So we thought initially, based on some miscommunication, that we were going to be getting the Custom 845 Urushi, but then some of the information that we had, like the price and stuff like that, was for the actual Pilot Custom Urushi. So the Pilot Custom Urushi now is up on our site with all the correct information, I think. And that's what we're going to be getting in. We're not going to get a lot of them because there are not a lot of them to get. But if you really like Pilot Urushi pens or Namiki Urushi pens, and you're looking at, you know, a Yukari Royale or something like that that has Urushi, you might like this style, more the flat top style, kind of a classic design in that large size. It's got a number 30 size nib on it, which is a kind of Pilot's custom sizing, but it's one step down from that giant Emperor number 50 size nib. So it's a nib that's bigger than the Yukari Royale, but smaller than the Emperor. So it's a huge nib, it's glorious, and I'm excited about that. A couple more pens to talk about. The Caran d'Ache 849, very bright, popping pen. Quantities on that keep getting delayed, so we don't have a full shipment of it yet to share with you all, but we will have that relatively soon. So we'll let you know when we have that coming, so be on the lookout for that. And then Stipula Passaporto, I know some of you literally have gotten some emails from folks that are literally just like, I removed my name from the email list because I'm just so sick of getting my hopes up about this pen. I get it, I'm sorry, but you know, I hear that the pen is a couple of weeks away. Heard that before. No guarantees, no promises, but I really believe, I know they had a problem with some of the injection molding and stuff. There's a pen that used to be $100, now it's gonna be $40. It's gonna be pretty exciting, little eyedropper thing. It's pretty cool. Once it's here, I'll talk about it in Q&A and show you the actual thing and how it works, get you excited about it. But I think finally, maybe it's coming. So just kind of look out for that. All right, shall we get to some actual questions now? I did take fewer questions this week because I anticipated I would go so long. And you know, I just got my camera back from the shop and I don't have my little counter on it that shows me how long I'm going. So it says record on it. I'm just trusting that it's recording, and I have no idea how long I've been talking now at this point. All I know is that it's 4:30, and I don't remember exactly when I started. I'm probably going long. Anyway, you missed me, so it's all right. You can break me up into a couple of segments here. Watch me over a couple of different pen cleaning sessions and see how it goes. But anyway, let's get to some questions, shall we? I do have a couple of moving questions just because when the heck else am I going to talk about the move beside from the first Q&A after we've moved? So first question is from Stu E on Facebook. Did you get a bigger office in the move? Yes. I didn't know whether you're talking about like the whole office or my office, but the answer to both is yes. So I thought I would just take a minute and just kind of show you around my office. It's a mess, so please don't judge. It's all right. Still moving in, still settling in, taking care of my darling wife, taking care of my kids. So I did want to take off, and I'm going to get behind the camera a little bit here, take you off the tripod. I may jump cut this, I'm not sure. But if I don't, you're going to see how the sausage is made a little bit. Okay, so here's my desk. It's a big U-shaped desk covered with stuff. Got a nice little monitor over here, monitor arm that I still need to get screws for the back of it. I can't mount the monitor on the arm, but I just haven't had time to get there. Got a couple family pictures and stuff like that. Really cool. My team, they took a picture, the first company meeting that we had after we moved. They took a picture and framed it for me and Rachel and gave it to us. And they also gave us that sweet nib statue back there, just as a memento for all the hard work. It's like, how cool is that? Who does that? So I got these amazing blue walls. Got some nice lights up in here, yada, yada, yada. So over here, I'm like tethered, so I can only walk but so far. But over here, I have my pen cabinets. I did pick up a third cabinet because I've just about filled the two of them. So I have my pen cabinets like right at my disposal, which is really nice. I got a couple of bookshelves over here, which I'm in the process of kind of figuring out how I want those to be arranged. But then you can see here, we've done some custom carpet in here with some really cool patterns. I can't show you much of it, but you can get a little glimpse into what it is, so that's kind of cool. You know, nice carpet here, just kind of a cool design, but nice glass doors, so there's some transparency there. A little clock, you know. Got this cool little poster over here of Teddy Roosevelt saying it's not the critic who counts, from the Man in the Arena speech, if you're a fan of Teddy. Trying to figure out how to make this work. Let me zoom out a little bit. Okay, so you can get a sense of like the size of the office over here. It's fairly large. And then over here, this is my other part of my office, I actually have a little like conference room, meeting room over here. I have a whiteboard that I still have yet to hang, but I got a television, so when we're doing meetings and we have spreadsheets and all kinds of other things, we can do that. So I can meet here, because part of why that was important is because we had one conference room at our old place, and it was so limited, we were fighting for it kind of all the time. So I end up spending the vast majority of my time in meetings. Let me get myself situated back here again. Okay, so I end up spending the vast majority of my days in meetings, because the thing is, when you have a company with 40 people or more, it takes a lot of time to understand what's going on every day, and it takes a lot of, you know, when you have hands-on leadership style, you have to meet with a lot of different people. So that's what I spend a lot of my time doing. So I have my own little meeting area here, so that the other conference rooms that we have now can be free for our team, and I'm not like booking stuff over top of people. Especially, you know, the space that we have, it's an 8-year lease that we have here, so we're going to be here a while, and so we built it out with room to grow. And after what we went through with this move, I don't want to have to move again anytime soon. So if we end up outgrowing this space, we're going to have to get a satellite office or something to figure it out, because I don't know if I can take another move anytime before the next 8 years. But so that's my little abode here. But there's lots more cool stuff here. You can see just like some of the cool, nice, just clean, and just, it looks awesome. I feel really at home here, and I really love it. And I know my team feels the same way. So I'm going to look to get to put together a little more stuff for you, showing you the rest of the space, but just wanted to show you a little bit of my world anyway. Excuse me. All right, this next question is from, lhlvieira on Instagram, lhlvieira, I think, or I can't tell if it's capital I or an L. Anyway, on Instagram. What are you all loving most about your new space? Is there anything you miss about the old one? And congratulations on what I hope is such a smooth move. It was a very smooth move. Thank you very much. What am I loving about it? Well, we have a lot more space. That is very nice. More intentional just design and layout. We put a lot of thought and effort and money into making this really us, and to having it fit our culture, and put a lot of thought. We had meetings upon meetings about how are we going to use this space? How do we want the teams to interact? How's the communication going to work? So at the old space, it was literally just like a labyrinth and a rat's nest that we kind of just infested into the building over the years. And we were just making it work. But now here, the space is really working for us. So the team is loving it. Morale is awesome, and it's going to be great. Give us room to grow. We put the glass in the doors, so there's an element of transparency now, not so much like disconnectedness like we used to have. We have a sound masking system, which also helps a lot. It's a lot more open space that we have now. And so having sound masking really helps. It's weird how the science works, but when you have like a white noise system, it actually helps to make it seem quieter. It's weird, but that's the case. So when folks are on the phone, and we can have still an element of connectivity and have everybody in one space, but you're not hearing all the other conversations going on, and it's interesting. In fact, one of the things, I have white noise kind of in my office here, and I'm concerned, like, am I gonna have this interfering with my mic on Q&A? I don't know, maybe. So tell me that feedback if that's the case. Other things like that, in our warehouse now, we have a conveyor belt. It's actually conveyor rollers, pretty advanced little system. It's pretty cool. So that helps just to minimize kind of foot traffic and stuff like that. It's a really cool conveyor. I'll show you at some point, but it's got like all these different lasers on it, and the motors are inside the roller, so it's a really safe system, and it's not running continuously, so it only runs when something is going on it. So it's really, really quiet, really safe, really cool. Great for our team. It's all air-conditioned space, so our fulfillment team used to have to work in an unconditioned space because there was no HVAC or anything back there. So it would get really hot in the summertime, really cold in the wintertime. We're constantly trying to run heaters or something like that to combat that. Now the whole space is finished. We got drop ceilings throughout the entire space, so everybody's loving it. It just feels like one more continuous space. And then it's not like our fulfillment team is like back in the warehouse. They're in this, we're all in this together, which is really cool. And also for them, they don't have this nice office window frontage like we have on the front, but we actually took out some of the bay doors that were in the warehouse and we put in bay doors with glass so that they could get natural light back there. Huge world of difference. Cool things like that. It's all on one level. So our last place, the building was long and it would kind of step down every suite, and so we were actually split about 3 feet difference on 2 different levels at the old place. So we'd constantly be walking up and down stairs. Literally, we had our inventory with a warehouse on one level and where we would pack everything on another level, and we had this little slide that we would like slide all the products down to get from one level to another. The slide is gone. Now everything is on one level. Team is loving it. Much easier for like larger shipments and using the pallet jacks and stuff like that. So much better. We have more bathrooms. We have a nicer kitchen. We have, actually there's like a deli, like a sandwich place that's the next building over on the premises. We're in like a larger business park. So that's kind of cool. So if we ever forget our lunch, we can literally go walk and grab a sandwich somewhere. And then we have more shade and just like walking areas and stuff like that. We were really kind of off secluded out in the boonies at the old place, but now here we're in a much more intentional space. People will take a lunch and then take the rest of their lunch break and go on a walk together and enjoy the outdoors. It's really nice. And then it's a closer commute for most of our team too. It's a little bit further for me and Rachel, but it's a win for a lot of our team. And then better internet too. At our old place, it was more rural. We only had one internet service provider, so things would cut out and get fluky, and that was it. We had no choice. But now here, not only do we have a better internet service, but we have 2 different internet service providers, and we run both of them in tandem, so that if there's ever one that's acting fluky, it just fails over to the other one. So it's been so much better for consistency with live chat and phone calls and just internet in general. Things that we miss about the old place, the list is much shorter, but for one is just the memories that were made there. We were there for 6 years. Literally we moved the business out of our house and we had our kids with us at the time. So we had, basically Rachel's office was a nursery that had our kids, our young kids. When we moved out of our house, our daughter was 2 months away from being born. So literally our daughter was born and like 3 weeks later, she was coming to work with us and our 2-year-old son. And so we just literally, we potty trained our kids there. We would have lunch with them in high chairs, and as we had all those memories. Now it's been a number of years since we had them at work with us because we put them in after school care. But we have all those memories and just all the early memories of our team, and just as we've scaled up and moved and stuff like that. There's a lot of good memories there. It was a closer commute for me and Rachel. That was more convenient. It's longer now. It's a compromise that we made, but we're happy to do it for the team. It was closer together. It was a more tighter, more compact space, which in a way was kind of nice because we would bump into each other a lot. We just, something about when you live in close quarters, you just have to get along because you don't have a choice. And it was just more intimate kind of feeling, a little scrappier, things like that. Now we're in a little bit nicer space, and whenever you're in a nicer, larger space, there's always that kind of temptation to get more comfortable and get a little bit spoiled maybe. So we're having to kind of just keep things in perspective for us. Not to discount how much we appreciate being in a nicer space. It was cheaper at the old place. This place is not only bigger, but it's more expensive just because it's in a nicer area, and that's just really, we were really pretty limited on options. We're fortunate we found a place that fit us so well because we didn't really have a plan B, quite honestly, and that was just kind of how it ended up working out, partly because of the amount of parking that we needed with the number of people that we have. But so, our expenses have gone up. that's just kind of part of business, growing. Expenses will continue to go up. Things rarely get cheaper. And then we had a really good landlord at our old place, so that was enjoyable. But still a good guy. Still keep in touch with him, but you know, we'll kind of miss him. We have a nice building owner here, but it's a larger complex and definitely not direct contact with the owner. They don't even live in the state, you know. So it's just a part of being in a bigger space. You get more of that stuff. So that's that. All right, I got a few more questions here. I need to get moving here. You're just going to get a long Q&A today. That's just how it's going to roll. All right, I got a couple of pen and writing questions and a couple of business questions. All right, pen and writing, some legitimate pen talk here, shall we? Okay, Dragonflies 0210 on Instagram asks, silly question, as I am new to the fountain pen world, do most people print or write in cursive with their fountain pens? Also, is there any potential damage to nibs when printing? Okay, so for one thing, I will disclaim and say, I feel like I've answered this question before. Colin and I both looked and we were like, did I answer this? And Colin was like, I looked in the last 40 Q&As and I couldn't find it. And I was like, okay, well, if it's been that long, I can probably bring it up again. So I'm sorry if I've answered this before. Hopefully I'll provide you some kind of fancy insight into it. Yeah, you can totally print, you can totally cursive. You can write whatever you want, Sanskrit, whatever makes sense to you, shorthand. It really doesn't matter. Honestly, as far as like damaging your nib goes, you really don't need to worry about that. It really has to do more about writing pressure and holding the pen properly and stuff like that. The type of script that you use really doesn't affect the damage that might happen to the nib unless you're doing some kind of just abuse to it or something like that. You know, the fact that you're printing, just the fact that you're lifting the pen up more, it really doesn't matter. A properly tuned fountain pen should stop and start on a dime anyway, so it's really not going to affect anything drastically. I think I personally am more inclined to write in cursive when writing with a fountain pen because the ink flows so smoothly. It just naturally, I'm inclined to want to just keep the pen on the paper more. Not everybody's like that though, and I totally get that. It's whatever you feel comfortable doing. I think that if you're using a script font, a longhand, that you will probably maybe enjoy the experience of a fountain pen a little more because it's just going to flow smooth and you see more shading and stuff like that. But plenty of people that print with block and all that. You can do that absolutely if you want to, as long as you're not writing with excessive pressure or holding it up like at a really steep angle, doing something crazy with it. I think you're going to be in good shape, but really you can kind of knock yourself out, do whatever makes you happy. MadBeats312 on Instagram says, why do some companies design and manufacture pens without removable interchangeable nibs like the Pilot Custom Heritage 92? I would use it more often and buy numerous other nibs if I had the option, but I'll never fork over the money for an identical pen in another nib size. Thanks. All right, I feel you. This is purely a matter of preference based on the company that's manufacturing the pen. Pilot in general does not like to do parts. They don't like to do pen parts. They don't like interchangeable nibs. They do it kind of reluctantly for the vanishing point, but they don't really like to do it for other pens. So something like the Pilot Custom Heritage 912, yeah, it would be cool. The nib, you know, if you're ever going to take apart a Pilot pen, you got to be super aware of that because they again don't stock parts and stuff like that. So you, as far as warranty service and stuff goes, you know, if you're hacking apart your pen and causing kind of damage to it, they're not going to be super friendly to that. So just be aware of that. But it is a friction fit nib in there. Theoretically, it's swappable on other pens, but it's a rather expensive pen. And are you really going to buy two and swap the nibs in between the two? Probably not. But honestly, that's a gold nib pen. You know, it's pushing 200 bucks. It's not really in a class where there's a lot of interchangeable nibs anyway. You see a lot of interchangeable nibs with things like TWSBI, Lamy. You know, Edison is a more expensive one, but it's still a steel nib unit and stuff like that. Yes, you can have some pens with interchangeable nib units like Pelican, Visconti technically, you know, Aurora, you can take out the nib units. But they're not like selling spare nib units on a regular basis on these high-end. Pretty much once you get to gold nib pens, in general, it's just not common to see them because the gold nib is a lot of the cost of the pen. So you might see a nib unit that would cost 60% of the cost of the pen for some of these companies because there's not, you know, there's just gold is expensive and a lot of the handwork and time and labor goes into the nib and the tuning and stuff like that, especially for a brand like Pilot. They manufacture all the stuff in-house. So it's just their own personal preference. I think they would rather just sell a whole pen, especially if you're talking about a global company. You know, the example that I think of is a brand like TWSBI. You know, TWSBI is a rather small company in comparison to, say, Pilot. Pilot's global. They have distributorships set up all over the world. And so for them to start stocking individual nibs or parts for individual pens exponentially increases the SKUs that they have to carry, and the expenses go through the roof. So that's part of why nibs and stuff like that would cost so much. And then the economics of that start to not work out so great. And then they're stocking parts, and you know, and they're not as big on that. So I understand where you're coming from a user standpoint. It would be great if we could just get all the spare stuff that we would possibly want to. In a niche industry like that, it's just not always possible, except for some of the smaller, more kind of enthusiast-based companies like TWSBI. Noodler's has spare nibs, Lamy, things like that. That makes a little more sense. Even Edison, you know, offers spare parts and whatnot. Monteverde, Conklin, you know, you can get some spare nibs and stuff. But it's just not common, especially when you get into that price range. That said, I would still encourage pretty much all brands, and I do encourage all brands to offer that stuff whenever they possibly can, because it's such a win for all of us as enthusiasts. But the logistics, sometimes I recommend it, and then they explain to me some of the logistics, and I'm like, okay, that makes sense. You know, I understand. Sucks, but I understand. All right, a couple business questions, shall we? This is from chudfumpy on Instagram. Hi, Brian. With the expansion to a larger premises, do you have any aspirations to venture into other fountain pen related products? I recently stumbled across a double-ended fountain pen, for instance. Yeah, I'm kind of always looking at fountain pen related stuff. You know, our mission statement is to provide fountain pen enthusiasts with the most personal online shopping experience through comprehensive education, exemplary service, and products we believe in. So if there is something that is fountain pen related, that's a product we believe in, boom, I want to be on it. You know, the space has nothing really to do with that. I would have been looking into that anyway. However, now we have a bigger space, we can accommodate more of that stuff. So yes, absolutely, we're going to be looking at more of that as we've been doing it. We have had kind of a pause, and now that we're in this nice new space, we have a lot of our reps and vendors and stuff that are like, oh, I want to come see your new space. And by the way, I want to bring a ton of new products to show you. So you're probably going to see a surge of new stuff that'll come on the last several months of this year leading into the holidays, which is good news for you, lots of options and stuff. We will be very busy here, but yeah, for sure. I mean, a double-ended fountain pen, I don't know about that. I haven't seen that available like in mass production. I've seen it from like Edison, a couple other kind of like smaller manufacturers that do that on like a custom basis. So yes, technically it exists, not a super common thing, but yeah, stuff like that, sure. I would totally look into that if it was a feasible kind of economical option for me. And then the last question for this week, I know I've talked to you off today, and I appreciate it greatly because I love doing this and it feels good to be back in the saddle. Mike W on Facebook says, how much business experience did you have before taking the plunge? Did your parents mentor you with their business? Did you learn from all those books? And by flying by the seat of your pants, you, Rachel, and the rest of the crew have done a great job of growing your company. Thank you, Mike. Appreciate the compliments. I will take it, and I will cherish it. So, multifaceted question here. I will work through them because I just like talking about what we do, and I'm very like in a very biz dev kind of mode today. So first thing I want to say is, while I seem so just gung-ho entrepreneurial, I'm a little bit of a dichotomy because I'm not like one of these, you know, kids that was 5 years old going to his neighbor's house and picking flowers out of their garden, knocking on the door and trying to sell it back to them. You know, that's those to me, like the Gary Vaynerchuks and the, you know, people like that. That just the ones who it's just in their blood. They want to start and build stuff and scale and risk and venture cap and all this kind of stuff. That's not really me. You know, I'm a little more, I don't know, I'm a little slower paced than that. I'm a little more intentional. I'm really at home in the fountain pen world, in the community. So I don't really have any like entrepreneurial kind of aspirations to just kind of start and build and sell and build something else and sell it and all that kind of stuff. Like I know people that do that. I've seen other just business folks do that. Not so hardwired to do that, honestly. I think that, you know, yeah, okay, to get back to your question, business experience, how much did I have before taking the plunge? I had some, but I mean, when we started this company, formally, I was 25 in its current, when we did this business in its current form. Really, I started making pens in 2007. So I would have been 22. So I was 22 when I started what eventually was to become this business. So how much business experience can you really have by 22? I had some. Like, I grew up, my parents had a business in the house. I got to work for them. It was a very technical kind of knowledge-based business. So as a kid, I wasn't able to contribute like super meaningfully to my parents' business, because it was desktop publishing in like the 90s, like late 80s through the 90s. So it was very heavily based on computers and technology and printing and all that kind of stuff. Very kind of cutting edge stuff that they were doing, graphic design, computer animation in like 1992, and stuff like that. So it just wasn't stuff that I really could understand at that point. But I got to do things like stapling invoices to manila folders, and they had, this one little kind of side hustle that my parents helped set me up with, is they had a client of theirs who builds decks. It was a local like deck building company. They had all kinds of franchises. And so they had, flyers that were kind of standardized flyers, and they needed to have the name of the franchise and the location printed up. So these franchises would order these kind of overprinted brochures, flyers, whatever. And basically I kind of managed that at about 9 years old. Orders would come in for, 500 flyers for a particular franchise, and I would have to go into FileMaker and pull out the address and format the thing, and then manage the printing of it and use a folding machine and pack them all up and ship it out, UPS and all that. So I was doing that kind of stuff at about 9 years old, thanks to my parents. And I was mowing lawns, I was doing that kind of stuff. So it wasn't like inherently in my blood. My parents kind of taught that to me. So yes, they did kind of mentor me, not necessarily so much with the ins and outs of their business. They ended up turning it into a partnership, partnering up with other companies to become a print company, and then sold that and merged it and all that. So I never really became a part of their company. I worked in it. I did some Photoshop stuff when I was in middle school, adding drop shadows to pictures for print catalogs and stuff like that. And I got to earn my keep through some of that stuff. So I ended up paying my way through college, combination of having worked a lot as a kid and having saved up well and being taught well from my parents. And it was pretty well taught to me, like, the best thing that you can do is to graduate college without having to be in debt, without having student loans. One of the best things that my parents were able to do to set me up with for my future career, honestly. And I've kind of carried that forward to, I'm a little debt averse. It's a tool, I understand, nothing wrong with that. It's just not for me in most areas of my life. So that said, they really helped me with that. They provided me a really solid, just kind of moral, ethical foundation that I've applied to a lot of areas of my life that has carried over into my business life. If you look over here, I've got the work hard, be honest, be flexible. That was my mantra that my parents raised me with. That's our number one core value, those three together. And the reason my team, when we came up with our core values in 2014, the reason we packaged all three of those together into a single core value is because they really felt like all three of those should be kind of honored together as part of my upbringing and heritage and the foundation of this company. That should be our number one value, was the three of those kind of put together. So that was kind of led the framework there. And then, once I went through high school, college, I had a couple of odd jobs working for other folks, and did not go great. I just, I'm wired to be kind of independent, and so I cleaned decks, I did Mr. Handyman type stuff, I painted, I did all kinds of stuff, really a lot of hands-on stuff, landscaping, you name it. Just doing stuff, networking through friends, neighbors, whoever, people my parents knew. Any work that needed to be done, I was pretty handy. I had a lot of my own tools because I had a tool buying habit that went all the way back to age 15. I would literally go into like Sears and look at Craftsman tools, instead of going to the movie theater or going to the mall with my friends. I would, like, me and my best buddy Chris would go into a Sears store and buy hammers and, jigsaw or whatever. And so I've always loved tools, so very hands-on. So I kind of paid my way through school by doing a combination of that stuff. And so I kind of had a sole proprietorship kind of with that through college. It wasn't a serious business, but that's kind of how I paid my way through school. And then of course, once I got into the pen making thing, that's when I really kind of formalized it into a business. Did I learn from all the books and flying by the seat of my pants? I do learn a lot from the books that I read. Part of the reason that I read so much is because I recognize, just through my own experience and people that I know, I learn a lot more from books than I think most people do. I have a knack for kind of learning from other people's mistakes. I just find tremendous benefit from having somebody else go through some hardship or pull out some kind of lesson, tell me about it, and then I can apply it and adapt it into my individual situation. So read over 100 different business books in the last 3.5, 4 years. Pretty aggressive pace of reading. A lot of them audiobooks. Physically with books, like I have a terrible memory, I'm a slow reader. It's a painful process for me to physically read books, but audiobooks work really well for me. So I'll listen to audiobooks, especially while I work out. That comes in really handy. Some about like when I'm just working out, working my body hard, it like hits my brain in the right wavelength where my body is occupied, so my mind doesn't wander. I've never been like ADD or anything like that, but my mind is, I'm very creative and I'm always thinking about futuristic kind of stuff. So if I'm just sitting there reading a book, I'm literally just, my mind starts wandering and daydreaming off, and 5 minutes later I look back at the page and I'm like, oh yeah, I was reading something, you know? But something about the pace of an audiobook, having somebody else reading something to me, it makes me more attentive to what's actually being said. And then just while I'm working out or washing dishes or doing something physical, it occupies enough of a part of my brain. I don't know if there's any type of legitimate science behind any of this, what I'm saying, but just the way that I'm wired. If my body is physically occupied and I listen to an audiobook, I pick up on a lot more. And I'm able to not only pick up on bits and pieces of what's being said, but then I can immediately twist it and apply it into ways that I could have it in my own life or my business or whatever. And sometimes there's so much good stuff there, my brain gets kind of overwhelmed. And I'm like, okay, I either need to re-listen to it. Sometimes I'll listen to an audiobook and immediately re-listen to it 2 or 3 times to try and really soak it all in or go back to a certain section. But oftentimes what I'll do is I'll buy physical books, which is that bookshelf is over there, and I'll go back and reference them and highlight certain parts and make notes and study it a little bit deeper. So for me, which is funny because that works really well for me. It's funny because I was never great at school. I would try to study. I have terrible memory, terrible memorization when it comes to like literal strict memory of words. I'm really good at remembering people's faces, anything tactile, I remember really well. That's why when I hold a pen, like literally when I have pens, you know, it's like I'll see a picture and I'm like, okay, I'll see a picture. But then like this loom, I'm not joking, like I got this loom and I saw it and I was like, oh, okay, cool. I picked it up out of the box and I immediately went, this pen is significantly lighter than the other looms. I haven't picked up a loom in 8 months, maybe, I don't know. But I immediately just remembered this pen is lighter. And I have a knack for tactile things anyway, so. Went on a tangent there. I like talking about myself, can you tell? Okay, so all the books that I read, they're all, not all of them are perfect, and I glean, you know, little insights from a lot of them. Some of them are more like, wow, this is a great roadmap. I really resonate with this particular book. Most other ones are like, okay, this is saying a lot of the same thing that this other book is saying, especially after you read that many. It's like, okay, really, they're just using different words to what this person was saying, but you know what, they tell it in a different way. It's hitting me in a different way, or it's resonating a different way, or, you know, when they said that phrase, that makes a lot of sense. So I'll still glean a lot of stuff, which is another thing that helps with audiobooks, especially if I'm moving really slow through an audiobook. I can turn up the tempo on it, go to 1.25x or 1.5x. And you know, there's some audiobook readers that are just really slow when they read, which can be fine, but sometimes I'm like, all right, we gotta move it along. So I'll usually crank it up to 1 1/4 speed, and that like sounds pretty good. Doesn't make their voice sound too weird, and I can just pick up on it a little bit quicker. Anyway, do I fly by the seat of my pants? Yeah, of course. I mean, there's plenty of that. We're in e-commerce. The landscape is ever changing. Business is ever evolving. There's so many factors out there that are ever shifting. You have to come up with a plan. I am intentional. We do strategic planning here. I had to do more strategic planning than I've ever done when we were planning to get into this space, because I had to say, okay, based on all these different scenarios, how many people do I think would we have here, just for practicality's sake? I didn't want to get a space that was too small. In 3 years we'd outgrow it and have to move again. So I had to do some of that, but it's just really just 8 years. Like, come on, you're just guessing. 5-year plans, it's a joke. You don't know what's going to happen in 5 years. Like, let's be real. You know, where was Instagram 5 years ago? It was like barely anybody even knew about it. It existed, but nobody really knew about it. And now it's this huge force to be reckoned with. You know, look at what Amazon has done in the last 5 years. It's crazy. You know, so be thinking about that stuff. It's just, you know, there's a lot of game time adjustments that have to be made, and you have to be able to seize opportunities. And one of the things as we grow here is being nimble enough to, you know, still act on things quickly and not get bogged down in our own kind of logistics. That's something I'm very sensitive to. We do have kind of more of a history to go off of. So like coming into this coming holiday season, you know, inventory gets crazy around the holidays because some things sell a lot more, some things sell less. You know, manufacturers' inventory, you know, inventory can shift a lot. Sometimes we'll do great through the holidays and then be out of something for 3 or 4 months after the holidays. So there's stuff like that, but we have patterns and things that we can look back on historically and see and order up and be more intelligent about that. So that's pretty cool. In the early days, we'd never been through any of this before, so everything was flying by the seat of our pants, all seat pantsing. But now, at least now, we have some basis to go off of, and we can just make kind of course corrections and adjustments for opportunities that come about. And now I spend a lot of time, you know, kind of creating vision for the future, building towards it, but there's always audibles that you got to call. So thank you for the compliments there, and happy to talk about that kind of stuff. So that's all I got for Q&A this week. My question of the week for this week, you know, I'm just really kind of curious, going off of the print and cursive thing. Which do you prefer to write with a fountain pen? In print or in cursive? I'm doing a little bit of kind of, you know, qualitative data collection here, qualitative analysis. Just go ahead and post in the comments. I'd love to know, you know, which one you do. Maybe you do both, maybe you switch and swap. And one thing for me that's really weird is if I'm writing with a rollerball pen, I will almost always do, you know, print. I won't do cursive. But as soon as I switch to fountain pen, I'm in cursive. And I can literally pick a pen up, one or the other. I don't even think about it. It just, I switch back and forth. It's weird, my own inclination. I'm a weird person, but that's where I'm at. So I always write in cursive and fountain pen. That's my answer. So I hope you enjoyed this Q&A, this very extended Q&A. I don't know exactly how long it was because I don't have my time marker, but I know it's long because I can tell that I'm thirstier than usual. That's my gauge. But it was good. I enjoy being back. Thank you. I'm going to try to be back regularly from here on out. May have to call an audible here and there. I don't know. We'll see. Just give me a lot of grace. Just extend me a lot of grace right now for me and the team. We're working hard, trying to keep things flowing, but, you know, life is happening. So thank you so much. Hope you enjoyed this. Have a great weekend and a fantastic rest of your week. And right on.